Confessions 31. There is another evil which we meet with day by day. If only it were the only one. For we repair the daily wastage of our bodies by eating and drinking, until the time comes when you will bring both food and our animal nature to an end. When that time comes, your wonderful fullness will spell the end of our need, and you will clothe this corruptible nature of ours with incorruptible life. But for the present I find pleasure in this need, though I fight against it, for fear of becoming its captive. Every day I wage war upon it by fasting. Time and again I force my body to obey me, but the pain which this causes me is cancelled by the pleasure of eating and drinking. For of course, hunger and thirst are painful. Like a fever they parch and kill unless they are relieved by the remedies of food and drink. And since to console us we have your gifts, for you have given us earth and water and sky to serve us in our weakness, the remedies are there for us to find, and we think of this hardship as a source of delight. Because you have taught me to understand this, I look upon food as a medicine. But the snare of concupiscence awaits me in the very process of passing from the discomfort of hunger to the contentment which comes when it is satisfied. For the process itself is a pleasure, and there is no other means of satisfying hunger except the one which we are obliged to take. And although the purpose of eating and drinking is to preserve health, in its train there follows an ominous kind of enjoyment, which often tries to outstrip it, so that it is really for the sake of pleasure that I do what I claim to do, and mean to do for the sake of my health. Moreover, health and enjoyment have not the same requirements, for what is sufficient for health is not enough for enjoyment, and it is often hard to tell whether the body, which must be cared for, requires further nourishment, or whether we are being deceived by the allurements of greed demanding to be gratified. My unhappy soul welcomes this uncertainty, using it to vindicate and excuse itself. It is glad that the proper requirements of health are in doubt, so that under the pretense of caring for health it may disguise the pursuit of pleasure. Every day I try my hardest to resist these temptations. I call for your helping hand and tell you of my difficulties, because this is a problem which I have not yet resolved. I hear the voice of my God who commands us, do not let your hearts grow dull with revelry and drunkenness. Drunkenness is far from me. By your grace may you prevent it from coming near. But there have been times when overeating has stolen upon your servant. By your mercy may you keep it far from me, for no man can be master of himself except of God's bounty. You grant us many gifts when we pray for them, and even before we pray for them, all the good things that we have ever received have come from you. That we should later recognize that they came from you is also your gift. I have never been a drunkard myself, but I have known drunkards made sober by you. Therefore, just as it is by your doing that men who were once drunkards are not so forever, it is also by your doing that those who were never drunkards are not drunkards now. And in the same way, it is also by your doing that men of both sorts know that it was you who did this for them. I have also heard these other words of yours. Do not follow the counsel of appetite. Turn your back on your own liking. By your gift I have also heard and found great comfort in the words, we gain nothing by eating, lose nothing by abstaining. This means that eating will not bring me plenty, nor abstinence reduce me to misery. I have heard these words too. I have learned to be content with my circumstances as they are. I know what it is to have abundant means, and what it is to live in want. Nothing is beyond my powers, thanks to the strength God gives me. Here speaks a true soldier of the heavenly army, not mere dust like the rest of us. But remember, O Lord, that we are dust. Remember that you made man from dust, and that he was lost and found again. My heart goes out to Paul for the words that he wrote by your inspiration. Nothing is beyond my powers, thanks to the strength God gives me. But he too was dust and could not do all things by his own power. Give me strength, O Lord, so that I may do all things. Give me the grace to do as you command, and command me to do what you will. Paul acknowledges your gifts, and the boast that he makes is made in the Lord. I have also heard another of your servants begging for your gifts in these words, "Let the itch of gluttony pass me by." All this makes it clear, O Holy God, that when your commands are obeyed, it is from you that we receive the power to obey them. Good Father, you have taught me that nothing can be unclean for those who have clean hearts, yet it goes ill with the man who eats to the hurt of his own conscience. You have taught me that all is good that God has made, nothing is to be rejected. Only we must be thankful to him when we partake of it. That it is not what we eat that gives us our standing in God's sight. That no one must be allowed to take us to task over what we eat or drink. And that no man over his meat should mock at him who does not eat it, nor while he abstains pass judgment on him who eats it. For these lessons which I have learned, all praise and all thanks be to you, my God, my Master, to you who knock at the door of my ears and shed your light over my heart. Deliver me from all temptation. It is the uncleanness of gluttony that I fear, not unclean meat. For I know that Noe was allowed to eat all kinds of meat that were suitable as food, that Elias was fed on meat, and that John the Baptist, remarkable ascetic though he was not polluted by the flesh of living creatures, the locusts which were granted him as food. On the other hand, I know that Esau was defrauded by his greed for a dish of lentils, that David reproached himself for longing for a drink of water, and that Christ our King was tempted not by meat but by bread. And the Israelites in the desert deserved rebuke, not because they wanted meat, but because in their greed for food they sulked and grumbled against the Lord. In the midst of these temptations I struggle daily against greed for food and drink. This is not an evil which I can decide once and for all to repudiate and never to embrace again, as I was able to do in the case of fornication. I must therefore hold back my appetite with neither too firm nor too slack a rein. But is there anyone, O Lord, who is never enticed a little beyond the strict limit of need? If there is such a one, he is a great man. Let him praise your name. But I am not such a man. I am a poor sinner. Yet I too praise your name, and Christ who conquered the world pleads with you for my sins. He numbers me among the weak members of his body, for your eyes looked upon me when I was yet unformed. All human lives are already written in your record.